Your company may already have invisible employees. They do not have badges, job titles, or performance reviews. But they can read customer records, call software tools, trigger workflows, and act faster than any manager can review. The strange part is that these employees may not appear on an organization chart at all. They are AI agents, and the biggest risk is not what they say. It is what they can quietly do. A chatbot usually waits for a question and returns an answer. An agent can receive a goal, decide which tool to use, and continue until the task is complete. That sounds like productivity. It is also delegated authority. Once software can act, every prompt becomes a potential instruction, every connected tool becomes a capability, and every permission becomes a business decision. A wrong answer can be caught before someone uses it. An action can change a record, send a message, approve a refund, or expose a file before anyone notices. And an agent does not need malicious intent to cause damage. It only needs broad access, an ambiguous goal, and no approval boundary. That is why the new security problem is less about intelligence and more about control. Okta's 2026 report frames the security gap with three basic questions. Where are my agents? What can they connect to? And what can they do? These sound simple, but many companies cannot answer them. An employee account is normally tied to a known person. An agent may be tied to a shared token, a workflow, a service account, or another agent. Picture a sales agent that begins inside a CRM. To finish its job, it reads email, searches documents, checks a calendar, drafts a proposal, updates a record, and asks another agent to research the account. One agent has become a network of identities, tools, data, and decisions. The business sees one automation. Security has to see the entire chain. Agents can enter a company in at least 5 ways. A software vendor adds an agent feature. An employee creates a no-code workflow. A developer connects an API. A contractor brings a bot, or an existing agent creates another specialized agent. None of these requires a dramatic launch. Agent sprawl can happen one convenience at a time, which is exactly why inventory must come before governance. A human employee usually has one account, a manager, a department, and a clear offboarding date. An agent may inherit access from its creator, borrow a service account, or use a token that never expires. When the project ends, the agent may keep running. When the employee leaves, the workflow may survive. The missing piece is not authentication alone. It is ownership. Consider a support agent handling a refund. It reads the ticket, checks the order, searches the policy, decides eligibility, issues the refund, updates the CRM, and emails the customer. If the policy document is outdated, the action can still look perfectly normal. Every system reports success. The problem appears later, when finance asks why refunds increased and nobody can reconstruct the reasoning. This is where agent risk becomes difficult to spot. Failure does not always look like a cyber attack. It can look like a support update, a calendar invite, a CRM change, or a payment that passed every technical check. The agent did what it was allowed to do. The company simply never decided whether it should have been allowed to do it alone. Now move the same pattern into finance. A human might process one incorrect payment before a reviewer intervenes. An agent can repeat the same decision across a batch in seconds. The number is not the point. The compression is. Machine speed turns a small permission error into a large operational event before the normal review cycle even begins. The first control is inventory. Give every agent a name, an owner, a purpose, a list of connected tools, the data it can reach, and a current status. Include agents embedded in software products, not only systems built by developers. If an agent cannot be found in one searchable register, it should not be trusted with production access. Visibility is the beginning of control. Next, treat an agent as a machine identity with a passport. Record who owns it, why it exists, which model it uses, which tools it can call when its access expires, and when a human must review it. Shared credentials erase accountability. Dedicated identities preserve it. The goal is simple. Every action should point back to one agent and one responsible human owner. Then apply least privilege in stages. Let the agent read before it can write. Let it draft before it can send. Let it recommend before it can approve. Access should expand only after the workflow proves reliable and observable. This creates a permission ladder. The agent earns capability through evidence instead of receiving a master key on day one. Human approval should not interrupt every step. It should sit at irreversible moments, moving money, deleting records, publishing externally, exporting sensitive data, signing commitments, or changing access. A useful approval screen shows the proposed action, the evidence, the affected systems, and the rollback plan. A vague approve button is not governance. It is theater. Traditional logs often show that a tool was called. Agent logs also need to show why. Capture the goal, the evidence retrieved, the tools selected, the decision made, the approval received, and the final outcome. Without this context, a company can know that something happened without understanding the path that produced it. Observability turns an invisible employee into an inspectable system. Finally, design the shutdown path before launch. A company should be able to pause the agent, revoke its credentials, stop connected workflows, preserve the audit trail, and restore the last known safe state. The stop button must work without the agent's cooperation. If the only way to control an agent is to ask it to stop, the company does not actually control it. IBM describes an agent control plane as the layer used to deploy, operate, monitor, and govern agents across an organization. Think of it as air traffic control for machine workers. The agents still perform their jobs, but the control plane tracks identity, permissions, policies, execution, and lifecycle from one operating layer. It manages a fleet instead of treating every agent as an isolated experiment. A practical control plane needs 6 capabilities: a registry of agents, dedicated identities, policy enforcement, execution management, audit history, and lifecycle controls. This does not require one giant platform on day one. A company can begin with a register, identity rules, approval gates, and centralized logs. The architecture can mature as the number and autonomy of agents increase. Some teams hear governance and imagine committees blocking every experiment. That is poor governance. Good controls define safe lanes. Low-risk agents can move quickly with limited access. High-risk agents require stronger evidence and approval. Clear boundaries reduce arguments at launch time because everyone already knows which actions are allowed, which are monitored, and which require a human decision. Deloitte reported that roughly 80% of surveyed organizations lacked mature governance capabilities for agentic AI, even as expected adoption continued to rise. That is the central tension. Companies are learning how to build agents faster than they are learning how to own their consequences. The winners will not be the teams with the most agents. They will be the teams that can trust agents with real work. Start with a 48-hour audit. List every known agent. Assign a human owner. Record connected tools and data. Mark which agents can write, send, approve, delete, or move money. Add approval gates to the highest risk actions. Confirm that logs capture decisions. Then run a stop test. Can the team disable the agent and revoke access in minutes? If not, that is the first repair. A leader does not need to understand every model, but they should get clear answers to 6 questions in one meeting. How many agents are active? Who owns each one? What can they do? Where are human approval gates? Can we explain important actions? And can we stop an agent immediately? If the answers require days of investigation, the organization already has an agent visibility problem. The next phase of enterprise AI will not be won by building the largest population of invisible workers. It will be won by making agents visible, identified, limited, approved, auditable, and stoppable. That is how software earns authority without escaping accountability. The new AI job is not only creating agents that can act, it is building an organization that can always answer who acted, why, and under whose control.